Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. What's up, guys? Let's do a part 2. Because I think I might not have been very clear. There's some things. Well, I spoke to someone. I showed the video to someone yesterday, and she asked me a few questions and that made me realize, okay, maybe it wasn't very clear. And I can see that because unless you're really familiar, it's like a new language, this stuff is like reading beneath the surface of interactions. It's really something new because we are all very used to the surface stuff, where we see someone say something and then we feel something and then we respond. We are always there's trigger, there's the gap, and then there's a response. Most of the time we have the trigger, which is a comment or something, and then straight we go to the response. It's automatic. There's not much gap. Nothing much happens in the gap other than feelings coming up. It's very unconscious. So when we're used to that, right, then we're not able to see the deeper, the what's actually going on part, which is what I'm really talking about, with that. Let me summarize the last video. Let me summarize it really short so that it doesn't, to simplify it now. What happened? I asked someone about prayer, whether she prayed, right? And then she felt like she was getting judged about whether, she's a good Muslim. So, but wasn't my intention. I was coming from a place of curiosity, not a place of judging. So the thing is, what is judging? Let's define it. Judging is when you impose your opinion of someone onto another person and you don't take in their what they're giving you. Like, for example, racism is a perfect example. You look at an Indian guy so many Muslims, they call themselves Muslims, they look down on other races, straight up. You don't even look at what he does, his good deeds, whatever. No, it's straight off the bat. Hey, what? He's this race? Nah. It's basically you don't give someone a chance to show up or say, hey, this is me. You already have your own idea of someone, you impose it on. That's judging. Okay, I wasn't doing that. I was asking, hey, who are you? Do you pray? It's a question. It wasn't, oh, you don't pray, you're not going to heaven. That's judging. That's what, that's the bad experience she had. And she was kind of basically fast forwarding is that. So what she was doing is basically, oh, let's cut to the chase. You're just gonna tell me the same thing they did, right? I'm not gonna get to heaven. So it's a trauma response. So this person I shared it with, she was like, she felt that maybe I could have helped the girl, help her to, because it was a trauma response, right? I could have helped her by showing empathy and soothing her, co-regulating, right? I was trying. I was trying, right? Absolutely, right? We should empathy so that she feels safe, right? So what happened? She was already on the defensive, right? And she was actually already dismissing me. That was a red flag. I needed to point this out. So when I pointed this out, okay, wait. This person, she asked me, don't you think you could have, helped her to empathize with her and stuff? And then what else would she ask? And she was wondering whether am I being too soon to write her off, right? Because I said I'm setting boundaries and stuff, and not, you know, it may seem that way, but that's actually me protecting myself from chasing, because I wasn't the one dismissing. That's the key thing to take note. I was not the one who was dismissing. It was her, just because I asked, you know. The first time she dismissed me, I could have just walked away, you know. She said, okay, I hope you find the best, bye bye. And I'm like, okay, bye. Would have been perfectly fine, because I'm not the one dismissing, right? But I still try to repair, and that's where I was trying to be empathetic, trying to be compassionate, right? That's where I was allowing the red flag and trying to, you can't just run at the first red flag, right? So that was the first red flag, and I was like, okay, all right. Hey, I'm not trying to judge you. I'm just, trying to understand, trying to get a gauge. Because at the end of the day, here is what a normal, healthy response would have been from her side. Oh, okay. Just answer lah. Just answer the questions, and then you have to give. You have to let it happen lah. If let's say I was that judgy one, and you just walk away, and I'm like, okay, you're a bit too judgy for me. Which is what she was doing, you might say, but she was actually judging me. Oh yeah, this person, she asked me, so why did you feel judged? Because she was the one dismissing, you see. To judge someone is to dismiss someone. I wasn't dismissing, I was just asking, who are you? While she was saying who I am. You see the difference there? That's the big difference. She already decided, oh, alright, you're judgy, all the best, goodbye. Yeah, that's judginess. To ask is not judginess. To come from a place of curiosity is not judginess. Judginess is lack of curiosity. That's the differentiator, I guess you can say. Anyway, so when I try to repair, try to explain, hey, I'm not trying to judge, so that's the part where I'm trying to be empathetic. But yeah, she was too triggered, right? So she insisted, because I also cannot just fawn. So a codependent response to that would have been, oh, okay, I won't ask. I won't ask, I'll be nice. No, right? This is the work for me. Oh yeah. So when I'm trying to repair, I'm trying to say, hey, I'm not judging you, she wasn't having it. She was still, she did the same thing again. She did the dismissing again, right? All the best, bye. And okay, that's where, so the ball's at my court then. And then I'm like, I can't keep chasing you. I can't beg you to understand me. So the healthy thing for me to do there, secure response, is to let go. And someone is running, you let them run. You don't chase after them, straight up. That's the message. And The other thing that helped to clarify is that I shared, because the person asked about this setting boundaries thing, isn't it? To you're not giving the person a chance. I wasn't the one dismissing, right? So I was just allowing her to dismiss me. Right? Okay, you may dismiss me. Right? It's a huge thing. So anyway, the other thing is that here's how I see it. It's a spectrum. On one end is codependency. Codependency, huge. What is codependency? I'll summarize it as loss of self. Okay, codependency is when you do things like you abandon yourself, you people please, you fawn for approval. Loss of self on one side of the spectrum, codependency. On the other side, you have narcissism. That's all about the self. It's as simple as that. Right? That's a huge one to unpack. Narcissism. But basically, it's all about the self. Not enough empathy for the other. Lack of empathy is a huge indicator. It's all about me. It's a narcissistic society today. Don't get me started on narcissism. Anyway, one end codependency, on the other end you have narcissism. Healthy is in the middle. So I explain my work. You have to know where you are. That's huge. You have to know where you are. Try to get to the middle. My work is to get to the middle. A huge thing for me is to set boundaries, to not chase. These are things that I see myself. I've done it before. So if you're on the other end, narcissistic end, then you need to do the other thing, right? Show more empathy, show up more, dismiss people less, and all that, right? So when I explained that, and then I said, actually, the first time when she dismissed me, I could have just walked away. It would have been perfectly fine, because relationship is about meeting the other halfway. That, and then she kind of got where I'm coming from. So I hope that clarifies somewhat. What's going on here is actually, I understand that it's not very obvious. On the surface you just see, on this, if you just look at the surface, it's like very normal, and you can't see who's right, who's wrong, and it's not about that. Really, at the end of the day, it's just incompatibility, right? Not everyone's for us, That's all it is. It's not he's better, she's better. It's just not a match. That's all. It doesn't have to be personal, right? Just not for you. You just need to find who is a good match for you. The healthier response, actually, healthier way would have gone down is, she said, okay, I don't pray. Okay, I miss this much prayer. Okay, all right, cool. And then at the end of all the questions, you're like, okay, I don't think we're a good match. Let's just move on, right? That doesn't have to be. I think we have to. She kind of wasn't allowing it to happen. It's like she was basically rejecting me before getting rejected. It's like she could sense the rejection coming, which is actually quite a avoidant response, I find. I think it's an indicator. I think avoidance, they do this. It's too painful to be rejected, so they do it first. Yeah. This is just my truths, my views from what I've learned and explored along the way. Oh yeah, I wanted to share about the trigger, the gap, and the response. Now this concept, I read it in Eckhart Tolle. Is it Tolle or Tolle? Eckhart's book, Power of Now, right? He talks about the trigger, response, trigger, gap, and the response. And your power is in the gap. But I don't think I finished the book, or I just didn't get what do you do at the gap? Do you meditate? I didn't get something practical out of it. I mean, the idea makes sense. Yes, we do. There is a gap, but it always felt like a very small gap. It is a very small gap when you are very unconscious of what your wounds are. It's like you're on autopilot. Someone says something, it's very quickly the anger comes and can take over. It takes work to take a step back. It takes work to really look at your wounds, your core wounds. That is the work I've been doing lately. So now I can talk about, now that gap has widened up. What do you do in the gap? Okay, I can say, this is what you do. Someone is judging me about how much I pray. I'm feeling triggered. That's the trigger. I'm feeling judged. So what's the story that's coming up? All these people that told me I'm not going to get to heaven, and that's where all the feelings come up, all that anger and all that, And then what happens usually? The response is the anger goes. The anger from the past, the stories of the past, comes up, and then you throw it at this person. Yes, what's happening right now, but you're not actually responding to what's happening right now. You're actually bringing up the past pain of the past. You see, and unless you're able to stop, sit, observe the feeling, and ask yourself, what is the fear? What is the fear? Basically, it's always a fear of something: fear of abandonment, fear of rejection. This one is fear of rejection, basically. Yeah, rejection. You are not, good enough. You're not going to heaven. Fear of rejection is coming up. But where is it really coming from? It's coming from those people that did it to you. So then a healthier response from her could have been, I've been judged in the past. Are you judging me? Something like that, right? I'm feeling judged. It's okay to share the feeling, right? Because I was trying to show up also, right? Like, hey, I get it. I'm a revert. I get it. Shit. They think I'm not good enough too. I get it. That's where I could have gone into a place of connection. The place where it broke down is that when she stopped listening to me, it became one-sided, the comms. Yeah, that's where things break down, when the listening doesn't happen. When defensiveness comes up, listening stops. Yeah, that it's one of the horsemen of the four horsemen. John Gottman's marriage. 4 indicators of divorce. What are they? Gottman, you just gotta check it out. Check out his work. Really good. It will help your marriage more than marriage course I went to. If you're married, look up John Gottman's work, The Seven Principles, and at least find out about the Four Horsemen. So what are they? One is stonewalling. Stonewalling is a nightmare, dude. Stonewalling is basically silent manipulation, but it's also can be a trauma response lah. People they get flooded with emotion, and some of them use stonewalling as a tactic. You see, there can be no compromise when one party is not talking, right? So it becomes a very imbalanced power dynamic. It is used by some people to create an imbalanced power dynamic. Stonewalling is one. Other one is defensiveness, is it? That's how I came talking about it. I don't know. Stonewalling. I know that one. Contempt. I know contempt is one. Defensiveness, I believe, is one of them. Not sure. Anyway, just look it up. It's really powerful stuff. Anyway, I was talking about the trigger, the gap, and the response, right? That gap, what you do at the gap is everything. Sometimes you need to set a boundary. You need to say, hey, this isn't working for me. Let's just, if someone is abusing you, someone is disrespecting you, just set a boundary. But the thing is, when you're not comfortable with it, you need to be taught how to set boundaries when you're young, from when you're young. Otherwise, you gotta start practicing it. It's huge, it's everything. You want to kill a narcissist? Learn how to set healthy boundaries. They can't survive around someone who knows how to set healthy boundaries. Here's your kryptonite for the narcissist: boundaries. Boundaries is everything. If you're struggling with relationships and you're getting taken advantage of, codependency, blah blah blah, boundaries. It's the biggest thing you could learn. Teach your kids how to set boundaries. It's the most important thing I think you could teach your children. Narcissists have no understanding of boundaries. They are all about overstepping boundaries. They are all about taking. They will come into your space and take what's yours, because everything is theirs. It's all about them. So how dare you set boundaries? They cannot handle it. So that's the cure. If you're struggling with narcissists in your life, learn how to set boundaries. They will walk out themselves. They will be like, hey, all my manipulation tactics is not working. What? Computer says no. And they're like, they'll leave. They'll because it's all about manipulation with narcissists. Covert manipulation, mostly covert. It's mostly covert. But if you're raised with having your boundaries violated, this is a traumatizing thing, man. Then, okay, trauma bonds. What is a trauma bond? So much language. So much language. Trauma bond is. This is good that I'm no expert. I'm just a layman, right? But I really come across all these things to make sense of what I've been going through, and it's helped me a lot. Here's another word. Well, I mentioned codependency, huge. Boundaries, huge. Codependency. And you got narcissist. You want to get to the healthy middle. Answer is boundaries. Okay, that little bit of language right there can save lives. Trauma bond. What is a trauma bond? If you've been raised having boundaries violated, what's a boundary? Like when your privacy is always like if parents always barge into your room, check on your phone, things like that, those are boundary violations. And emotionally also, emotionally violate your boundaries, like your feelings are invalid, all this stuff, and you think that, oh, that's normal, oh, so this is love. That's a trauma bond. Okay, I mean, that is the where it comes from. So you think that, oh, this painful, hot and cold, I need to earn your love dynamic, oh, that's love. You think that's love, and then when you're out there looking for a partner who kind of gives you that kind of vibe, and then you think, oh yeah, this is love. Yeah. It's not. But why do we go back to that bad dynamic, painful dynamic? Why would we? Subconsciously, we are actually trying to fix what went wrong in our childhood. What a trip. What a trip. It really takes work for some of us. Or trauma. To have your heart shattered open, to suddenly see what are the wounds underneath that have been directing your life, unconscious wounds. So you think you're in love with someone, but it's actually a trauma bond. This painful dynamic you're in. So look up trauma bond. It's another huge thing. Yeah, the trip is that, you're basically trying to fix that really painful dynamic that you experienced when you were young through the partner who is doing the same thing to you, loving you and hating you at the same time, kind of thing. That whole thing that you're trying to earn the love, you want to be chosen, you abandon yourself for it. Self-abandonment. No, you're not supposed to. It's not how love works. You need to make sure this other person is also stepping towards you just as much. Make sure you have to check that you're not the one doing most of the work. You're not the one doing the chasing. That's how you know that this is a healthy relationship, healthy dynamic, and not a trauma bond. You have to protect your heart. But the thing is, when your heart wasn't protected by your caregivers as you were growing up, you don't know how to do it. You think that abusing your own heart, abandoning yourself is the norm. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that's the thing, you see. And it's messed up until you start to see what's going on under the surface. So that's what I'm talking about. This is stuff that's going on under the surface. And it takes digging deep into your own wounds. Sit with the pain. What has helped me is to sit with the pain. What we usually do is we run from it. We run from the pain. Find ways to make it go away. But pain is a messenger pointing you to what you need to heal. There's a gift in it. The wound is where the light enters. So don't run from it. There's a gift in it if you sit with it and listen to it. Nonviolent communication. Marshall Rosenberg, I think. Check him out too. Really good stuff. Because communication is everything. People are going to trigger us, especially in intimate relationships. It's like the primary purpose of an intimate relationship is to bring up your wounds. They will come up because when your partner, it's like your colleague says something. If a colleague doesn't reply your message, blue ticks you for half a day, no big deal. But if your partner, your life partner, blue ticks you half a day, it's abandonment. Yeah. So that's how the wounds come up. And unless you know how to sit with the feelings, observe it, and really look at the stories, then you're going to act up. You're going to freak out. You're going to accuse the person of hurting you, abandoning you. You won't use the words abandon. You would be like, why can't you reply back to me? I would do it for you, and all that stuff, right? But the thing is, if you should check out the anxious avoidant dynamic. So what happens is the anxious person gets triggered, gets upset by slow replies and things like that, and the avoidant is like, gets triggered by the big response, then they run, and you start this vicious cycle where the avoidant avoids and the anxious one is too dramatic, and it just gets worse. So unless, preferably, if both are able to really look and spend time in the gap before they respond and be more gentle with each other, it's a recipe for disaster. Look up the anxious avoidant trap. Got some homies here. Anyway, it's been 35 minutes. Maybe I'll cut this one here first. Alright? See ya.